Ugh, there's stuff that can go and there's stuff that can't go. How do we decide? Maybe Swedish Death Cleaning can help. Now, maybe you've heard of Swedish Death Cleaning before. A lot of people have talked about it, but it is such an interesting thing. And I'm going to tell you why I think this is perfect for people of all ages. Now, this started with a lady named Margareta Magnusson, who her husband had passed away. She lives in Sweden, and he passed away and he left a lot of things behind, a lot of tools, a lot of other things. And she just thought, like, this is a huge burden to have to deal with somebody's stuff when they pass away. So Margareta said to herself, I don't want to leave my kids, my descendants with this problem. So throughout our lives, we collect a lot of things. This is not at all uncommon. I remember being a little kid and having a couple of like drawers in my dresser for like my cherished things. And I really started to grow to appreciate these things more and more in my life. And I started to see them as an extension of myself. And I think that this is something that happens to a lot of people. And that is why as we get older, it's even harder and harder to let things go. We will have things from our childhood that we do not use, but because we know it's from our childhood, we feel like it's hard to let that thing go. Or maybe we have something from when we were a young adult or when our kids were little, something that at that time was not very important. And we might have like a lot of things from these different periods of life. Now, Margareta said she does not want to be leaving this stuff behind to people to deal with. She wants to be the one that decides what happens with these things. And I love this because if we had been given a gift by somebody or we had purchased something in the past, we are the perfect person to decide what to do with that stuff and not our kids or our nieces or our nephews or our spouses, whoever. And why this is so important, I'm going to get into 2 reasons why we don't want to basically leave our stuff to our descendants. Number 1 is that in my community, my Facebook group, my group coaching, all of my stuff, I have a lot of people who have inherited stuff, all of their parents' belongings, all their mom's belongings, and then maybe their spouse's parents' belongings too. And those parents may have inherited some of their parents' belongings. Now, there is one thing to consider is that times have changed. My grandparents lived through the Depression. They were born during the Depression, I think. But they still were affected by that. And that is one of the big mindset issues that keep people stuck nowadays, is that sort of like a scarcity mindset, which completely makes sense. However, their parents may have left them less stuff, but with each generation, we are accumulating more and more stuff. And then we're leaving that to our kids and basically then our grandkids, maybe even our great grandkids to deal with. So that's number 1. It's just not fair. But there's another reason too. Now, I am so grateful to my mom because currently she is going through her stuff so that my brother and I don't have too many things to deal with. And my dad, my brother and I, we went through his stuff and then we actually had a service come and take a lot of that away. Now, I know a lot of you don't want that. And that brings me to reason 2. And reason number 2 is that this is your stuff. And I don't know, a lot of people, they don't want other people handling their stuff. You are the person who knows what is going on with this stuff. You know the history behind it. You know, like maybe some of the stuff that you have in boxes, you wouldn't even want to keep. You just don't realize it and it's in boxes. And then your descendants are going to be anguishing over it, which is no bueno. Maybe you have some secrets, and I'm going to get into something somebody told me later in a minute, but maybe you have secrets you don't want people to come across. Like there just might be some things you don't want people to come across. And I'm not saying like don't leave anything behind for people to deal with. And I've had people comment on my videos in the past saying like, well, all of my family, they can't wait to get my money and then they can just go through my stuff. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't really seem like a great attitude. And maybe you should be talking to your family now about maybe some issues that you have. That's something I think we might want to deal with it. The second part of the sort of like it's for you reason is that we don't want to be living in clutter. I don't want to be living in clutter. Clutter is not good for us to live around. It is bad for our mental health. It's bad for our spiritual health. It's bad for our productivity. It is bad for our physical health. Like there's just so many reasons. Like the cortisol. I'm a nurse. Like I've explained all of this in past videos. And I will try to remember to link one below. If you're looking for that and I haven't linked it, send me a message and I'll do it, or comment. But yeah, like if you are living with a bunch of these things that are not serving you, that you do not use, that is a huge, huge issue. And it's just, you want to be making the most out of your life, no matter how old you are. If you're 30 and you're watching this and you're just like, well, like I don't plan on dying for, half a millennia, half a century, then sure, like I get that. But at the same time, why would you want to be living with a bunch of stuff around you? The whole point is like we're creating a sense of freedom. And one more thing I want to add about the decluttering to family piece that I forgot is that there can be disagreements with family members when they are dealing with estates. And if you can help prevent that, you're probably going to want to. Like, I'll tell you one thing. I have 3 boys, and one of the most important things for me is that they are friends when they're grown-ups. I don't really care that much if they're friends when they're not grown-ups, but I really want them to be friends. And I can't guarantee they will be. I really can't, but I just really want them to be. And I would hate for my belongings to actually be something that stopped them from having a close relationship because they were dealing with an estate and there were just issues. There may be confusion. I know that there have been families where somebody will say like, oh, you can have my, crystal elephant. And somebody else will say, well, no, Dad said I could have the crystal elephant. And somebody else will say, well, Dad said I could have his Corvette. And somebody says, well, no, I thought we were going to sell the Corvette. Like there's all these things. So if you can figure that out now and put it in your will, you are going to be really happy. Now, you might be saying like, how do we do this then? You can download my free ebook right there, and it is going to guide you step by step how to declutter, beginning to end. It's totally free. Make sure that you click the link down below to download it or go to the URL on the screen. There are also some Swedish death cleaning questions that we can look at. Let's get to the Swedish death. Okay, so the first Swedish death cleaning question is, will I use this? We're going to use my wedding dress as an example. 20 years this year. This dress, first of all, I will not be using it again. I have tried it on a couple of times. It's not exactly closing, and that's fine. It's been 20 years. But no, I'm not going to wear it again. I'm not going to use it again. We're done. I love it, but we're done. So that's the first question. And you can look at this for many things in your home, in your life. Now, if we say, like for that picture behind me, do I use it? I mean, I don't like use it to like wash the floor or anything, but I use it in that I admire it. Now, a lot of people might get caught by that and say, well, I admire this and I admire that and I like this and I like that. I mean, I get that. But there are so many chances in our day-to-day life where we have the opportunity to make space in our life by removing things. And think about like, do you want your stuff or do you want like an environment that is serving you? So yes, I could say like of all the pictures I own, yes, I like them all. Am I going to hang every single picture that I have ever purchased or enjoyed? My walls would be absolutely covered and that would stress me out. And I'm not saying that's like a terrible look. It's a very kind of like ancient sort of, like it's kind of like a Harry Potter, look like outside the dorms and everything. And if that's your style, I think that's great. But it doesn't work for me. So for me, I want to make sure that it's something, if it's artwork, that I'm admiring it, that I'm using it, that I'm like, oh, like I could just picture myself just like stepping into that picture. Another thing, of course, like, yes, I use stuff in my home or my kitchen, the clothing that I wear, and I be hard with myself about things in the closet. Do I wear this? Is this just sort of like a fantasy self? Like I remember buying like this kind of like blazer once, and I don't know why or where I thought I was going to use this blazer, but I only wore it probably a couple times, but I kept it for so long. And I'm so glad that it's finally gone because I just, like, that was silly. So just being honest with yourself. Will I use this? Number one question, will I use this? Now, the second question is, will anyone be happy if I keep this? That's the only reason I have this dress still, is because somebody might be happy if I keep this. Might be happy if I keep this. Now, do I know who will be happy? No. And I don't want, like, maybe I'm using this as a bad example, but I just think the wedding dress is just such a good one because it's a thing that I will very quickly be decluttering as soon as I determine nobody is going. It's just going to be a while until I know that. Because the thing is, I am keeping that just because it is a wedding dress, and maybe I am going to have a granddaughter one day who's going to want it. Like I mentioned, I have 3 sons, so I don't know. Right now I have a niece. I don't know. Maybe she's going to want it or maybe not. And a lot of people say to me, you can donate this for stillborn babies. And I love that idea. I think that's wonderful. I may end up doing that. But for now, I just feel like I may have, if my grandma or my mom's dress was available to me, I think I probably actually would have been happy to have had that opportunity to wear those, and I did not. So for me, at this point in my house, or in my life and in my house, I have this space where I can just keep it in my closet. Now, that doesn't mean I'm keeping every other dress that I've ever owned that I have worn and I'm done with. Like bridesmaids dresses, like, come on. No, those are gone. Lots of things can go when I'm done with it. Yes, there are times in our lives where we wear things like constantly, and then all of a sudden we're just like, oh, I'm not really wearing that anymore. Let it go. So if somebody is will somebody be happy if I keep this? And the other thing is, like, be honest about that. Like if I am going through, like say I am done my pasta making, I always use the pasta maker, but say I'm done making pasta, I'm going to say, is anyone going to be happy if I keep this pasta roller? And the other thing I'm going to say is, and this is where maybe, like, I'd be like, okay, if one of my teenage sons will be happy if I keep this, then he's taking it when he moves, because I don't want a bunch of extra stuff kicking around. But yes, it is okay to keep some things. I have people who say, like, well, what do I do with all of my sentimental things? Like, they have to declutter everything sentimental. I'm like, no need to declutter everything sentimental. This is sentimental. I would declutter it literally because, like, what am I going to do with it? It's beautiful, but what am I going to do with it? This is just staying in the closet. It's not like it's like out where I'm enjoying it. So I will happily declutter it one day to somebody. If nobody wants it, it's gone. But yes, you can keep some things, of course. Like, keep whatever you want. But my whole thing is, the life is better when we declutter stuff, right? There are a couple of fun things that you can do, though. Number one, you can have a throwaway box. Now, this is a box where you put things that you want to keep that are meaningful to you, like maybe your diary or some other things. And you put that in a box and you basically, like, label it, throw this away when I die. And you can even appoint somebody. Like, I could say to one of my kids, like, hey kid, you're not gonna wanna see what's in this box, basically, and be like, it's nothing interesting. You're just going to not wanna see it. I don't know, whatever you can say so that you think they're probably not going to open it. I don't know, like, is this making it sound more like they're going to open it? I don't know. Or even just a friend, somebody who truly is just going to make sure that that box goes away and never rears its ugly head again. Because you're enjoying it, you love it, you want to keep it, but you want nobody to deal with it when you're gone. I think that's a great one. There's another thing that somebody described, and it's called the foolscap. And I think I understand this correctly. Maybe I don't. Please let me know. And I am definitely curious your entire stories with all of the Swedish death cleaning and all of it. But so please comment. But the foolscap is the cabinet of ugly, I believe it translates to. And this is for those people who get gifts from people that for whatever reason they don't want to, like, be honest with the person about their stuff, or maybe there's just like relationship dynamics or whatever, and they keep the ugly things in there, like the gifts that they would never use, but then they pull them out when that person's coming to visit. I think that's hilarious. I think that if I was at that stage, like, or if I was like truly maybe getting later in my years, I'd be like, I don't care. Like I hear that's what happens. Like I'm getting to that point, but I'm just not quite there. So that is an option too. You can also just have like like a cabinet of like weird things. If you love stuff, like keep it. I'm not saying declutter it, but what I'm saying is if you have a bunch of stuff in boxes that you're not using, be honest with yourself, go through it. Don't burden your family or more importantly, yourself with that stuff. Can you see that package of licorice there? Yeah. Yum, yum. It's candy. That's okay. All right. So, I mean, I guess there's always the option of being a Viking and going or being like the Vikings and being on your big boat and all of your stuff put on there and having it like all burnt and just like going off. Like that's an option too. That would really make life easier for your family. Of course, like then they got to move all the stuff, although maybe they could hire somebody and then I'm not sure if like you want to be on that boat during, I don't know. What I'm saying is that your environment matters because life is a beautiful thing. There are so many great things in life that aren't just material possessions. There's so much. There's family. There is the smell of spring. There is the taste of a fresh strawberry, the taste of a cookie, the taste of a cup of tea, the warmth of a cup of tea. Like just so many amazing things in life. You might be like, I truly do not know where to start. Here's my full decluttering system. Not to mention, I truly think you should like quickly go download that free ebook and then watch this full system. Start. They would be perfect together and you'll have it immediately because it's a download. I hope something great happens for you today. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye.